The funding for this video is provided by the amazing members of my Patreon. Also contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Yeah, I started from PBS Kids. What you gonna do? Fight me? Anyway, roll the video. Y'all not gonna like what I gotta say about this. Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna and I'm back with another video. Hi, hello, how are you? See?
I can't hear my video.
I told you to leave.
When you gonna be done? Why can't you go in your room?
Do y'all hear her yelling at me?
Why can't you go in your room?
Because it works better with this computer and I'm not about to transfer my desktop up there.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye. Y'all, she is so mean. I love you.
Shut up.
Y'all, my sister is on hot ass mess. Hey y'all, it's Harriyanna and I'm back with another video. Yes, I did not shave. Don't say nothing. I can do what I want with my body. And welcome to or welcome back to the pirate ship, also known as Harry Hook's pirate ship. I am the captain. You are not my first mate. I don't got no first mate because you want to know why? Nobody's worthy of being the first mate. Hello, hi, how are you guys doing? My name is Harriyanna and I like to make content based off nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that I find within those spaces. Now today's video is one that I actually have been pondering upon for a while now because I'm a really big fan of this thing on YouTube where people in the cartoon community specifically, not really just the cartoon community, but people on YouTube will review every blank ever of like a franchise. I know Julia Cudney did every Scooby-Doo movie ever. Highly recommend her video. I love her. She's amazing. And yes, I want to do the every blank ever. So I decided, I was like, you either do it with Teen Titans or Descendants Wicked World. Turns out I'm gonna do both. The main reason I was so opposed to doing every Teen Titans episode reviewed is because I knew my comment section was going to be full of people trying to have Teen Titans Go slander in there. And how many times do I have to say this? Nobody gives a fuck that you hate Teen Titans Go. Like, we don't care. It's 2022. We don't give a fuck that you hate Teen Titans Go. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. But one thing that a lot of people don't seem to know about me is that 2003 Teen Titans is actually one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah, that's one thing a lot of people have no idea about me when they come across my channel and whatnot. But Teen Titans was like my first love. Like, I'm not even joking. Teen Titans has been very important to me since I was in pre-K, and that is when they started airing episodes, and I was there when it ended. I was there the day the movie premiered, and I was in denial that the show was over, and I watched it up until Cartoon Network stopped playing the reruns, and I was devastated. So I used to go on YouTube, watch the episodes in 3 parts all the fucking time. I was a stan. Teen Titans is honestly what introduced me into AMVs. And Teen Titans also is what introduced me to fan fiction. It was actually iCarly, but I don't claim that shit. But it was in middle school and I discovered iCarly fan fiction. And I was like, does Teen Titans have fan fiction too? And I did find that, and that was great. One particular thing that a lot of people remember from that time period is that the Teen Titans fandom and the Avatar: The Last Airbender fandoms tend to intersect often. It's so funny because if somebody is a fan of 2003 Teen Titans, 9 times out of 10 they're like a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender 2 at the time. And I remember so many of us shifted over to watching Avatar: The Last Airbender because Teen Titans was done for and we wanted something that was similar to it. Avatar: The Last Airbender and Teen Titans are not similar, but we both wanted stories about teenagers that actually was realistic in the way they acted. And yeah, Avatar filled that void, and then I became very obsessive over that. But I'm pretty sure there's gonna be somebody that does every Avatar episode reviewed. Is that my place to do that? I don't know. The crossover events back in the day that happened with these 2 shows, amazing. Teen Titans 2003 is also what introduced me and many other people to fandom. Because I know this show so well and I've been overanalyzing the shit out of it for over a decade, why not I be the person that does every Teen Titans episode reviewed? I'm mad that my office space is down here. Hi. I'm recording. The camera's on. I'm recording. So just be quiet. I'm not kicking you out. I'm just telling you to be quiet. Okay. So why not hop on the every blank review train and let's go ahead and do Teen Titans every episode review. But the catch is, I'm not doing the whole show today. No, I refuse. No. We're going to be doing this season by season. So this is every Teen Titans episode reviewed, volume 1. I originally was just going to make an hour-long video just being an entire retrospective of the series, but because I love this show and it's that special to me, I think I want to sit down and go episode by episode by episode so I can truly show you guys that I actually am a hardcore stan of this series. It also gets on my nerves when people be trying to make it seem like I don't know Teen Titans, because one day somebody was hitting me up, have you ever watched the 2003 Teen Titans? I think you would like it. Who hasn't seen the show at this point? Like, please tell me. Who has not seen this? Every nerd has seen this show. Like, don't play with me. Like, I'm literally a college student. I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I have to do. What I look like sitting here making a 6-hour-long video. Bye. So here we go. I will begin my review of Teen Titans Season 1. By the way, this video contains spoilers. I'm not going to give away almost everything within the episodes just in case there is somebody out there that has not seen this series and does want to give it a chance. But this will still include spoilers, so you've been warned. Also, you ain't watched this series by now. I don't know what to tell you. Spoiler alert. So before we get into the episode reviews, we have to know the background of this series. Teen Titans is a show that focuses on 5 different teenagers whom Robin is the former sidekick who wants to be a leader, who's also a total bitch. Y'all, oh Jesus, Robin was pissing me off so bad. I'm gonna get into the Dick Grayson slander later, okay? As a kid, I adored Robin, but now that I'm an adult, I just cannot fucking stand him. He's trash, okay, y'all? He's trash. Anyway, moving on. Cyborg, the show's token black kid who is half human, half robot. Beast Boy, a boy who can turn into animals and is unusually green. What he be drinking? Y'all know that shit that photosynthesis? Chloroplasm. That's him. Did that we on? Anyway, continue. Raven, a demon. Okay, she's like half demon. And Starfire, an alien. An alien who wants to fit in and learn about the human world. Girl, it is not that great. This show is a mix of both drama and comedy. It's a dramedy, but sometimes it's not, because there are some episodes where it's just straight up comedy, and then there's some episodes where it's just extremely serious and we get probably 3 jokes throughout the entire thing. One thing that many people have noticed about this show is that it switches theme songs. And the funny thing about it is that it's the same song, but like in different languages. In the English version of the Teen Titans theme song by the iconic duo, J-pop duo, specifically Puffy Yumi, the English theme song will be for the more serious episodes, but then the Japanese theme song will be for the more goofy and lighthearted episodes, but also the episodes that focus on the characters as people and not heroes. I find that extremely interesting. And guess what? I'm gonna shake my ass to both of them. They both slap, okay? I am honestly so pissed off that you cannot stream the Puffy Yumi versions of the Teen Titans theme song on Spotify. Like, what the actual fuck are y'all doing? There's a cover on there. I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. I want to hear the real deal. One thing I really praise about this show is how they flip back and forth between serious and lighthearted, because I am somebody that does struggle with my mental health and I can't sit and watch super duper serious shit all the time. That's why I always lean more towards comedy shows than drama, or a good mix of drama and comedy like The Office. Teen Titans it's great. It's perfect for me because it's like sometimes I want something that's a little bit more serious, but something that's not too serious to the point where I'm shaking and crying and screaming. Like, y'all be begging me to sit here and talk about sad ass shows and I just don't have the willpower to do it, y'all. I can't do it. I can't. I'm sorry. I cannot. Now that you guys have the background on the series, we are ready to get into the episodes. Is it my fault? Why'd you have so far? Okay, episode 1, final exam. The funniest thing about the first episode of this series is that it's not the first episode, we're gonna get to that later though, but in this episode, Final Exam, we are introduced to the Hive and Slade before we even meet the Titan. And the funny thing about the Hive, for those who actually know the history of Teen Titans from the comic books and whatnot, the Hive is actually a terrorist organization. It's actually a terrorist group, but here in Teen Titans 2003, you know, they wanted to market the show towards children. They couldn't really go that dark of a route. So instead of making the Hive a terrorist group, they called it Hive Academy, and it is a school for supervillains in training. It's still a terrorist group. But they got away with it. They did it in a more clever way. Not only is this the first time we meet the Titans, Slade, but it's also the first time we meet the Hive as well, because the Hive end up becoming recurring villains throughout the series. And same with Slade. Slade is honestly one of the more major villains in this series before they kind of like pushed him out. That was weird. Anyway, we're gonna continue. Honestly, this show is at its peak. Slade was the best villain in this series, hands down, but I'm gonna get back to that later. Y'all, the funniest thing about this show, in this episode particular, is that that house is nasty. That house is nasty as fuck. The Titans Tower is about as nasty as the Bad Girls Clubhouse and the, what's that other, America's Next Top Model house, because they don't want to fucking clean it. It is so filthy in there. And they was over here looking at the house, looking at how nasty it was. The food was moldy. So you know what they did? Like a lot of other people, when they don't want to fucking clean or cook, they went out for pizza. Y'all, that house is like so fucking nasty. I was just like, what is that? Like the mold was moving. Overall, this episode just shows the beginning feud between the Titans, the Hive, and Slade. And to be honest, we don't really get a sense of who anyone is in this episode. And that's because this was actually the third episode on production and it showed. And it was the first episode to air, and I just need to get this shit off my chest. Jinx, why the fuck did y'all feel the need to whitewash her? Jinx is an Indian girl. Why is she so pale? And don't even try to come for me and saying, but Indian people can be light skinned. I know they can. But go look at her original design from the fucking comic book and you'll see that that girl is not light skinned. She's brown skinned at lightest. Like, they made her so damn pale, and then they had a white woman voicing her. Like, to be honest, I've never really cared for this episode. This one was always a skip for me when I was younger, but actually sitting down and watching it today, I figured out why I didn't really care too much for it, and the team was just fighting the entire time. Like, it's honestly so annoying. The Teen Titans angst honestly is some of the harder parts of this show to get through. And I'm not talking about angst. When I'm talking about angst, I'm not talking about those episodes where they're actually talking to each other and whatnot. I'm talking about those episodes where they're literally fucking screaming at each other. Like, I can't stand it. But this episode was honestly just annoying as fuck, because all they did was fight the whole time with each other. They was snapping at each other, whatever. In the end, it all worked out. They saved the day, whatever. Moving on. Sisters. Oh, y'all, this is actually one of my top 10 favorite episodes of this show, if not my favorite, because this episode is just messy. It's just messy as hell, and I just loved it. And I honestly kind of wish that they put Blackfire in this series a lot more, because she really only had 2 episodes, which is this one and then another one, and then is it season 2 or season 3? I'm pretty sure it's season 3. We'll get there when we get there. Like I said, this episode is one of my favorite overall, and now that I know that this episode was written by a woman, it makes a lot more sense why it was so strong. I'm sorry, y'all, but that dance scene that they always be clowning them for when they went to the club.
That is funny.
First of all, these are teenagers. Why are they in the club? Why? I swear, cartoons be getting away with so much shit, because I'm just like, why the actual fuck are these teenagers in a club? And the thing about it is that the other people in the club did not look like teenagers. Them look like grown-ass adults over here hitting on the kids. I'm just like, Also, it just reminded me of like that episode of Big City Greens where Andromeda and Tilly went to the club. Anyways, it's animation. It's fiction. Don't try to bring logic here. Why the day I need to film this long ass video, everybody and their mama want to be outside cutting grass and cutting weeds too, and I'm mad because my dad is doing it too. But like I said, I am all for women telling stories about girlhood simply because men think it's their place. And no, and before anybody try to come for me, men have a whole history of thinking that they can write women characters better than women. So no, bye. This episode focuses on Starfire, who is my favorite character in this series. So 9 times out of 10, a lot of my favorite episodes of this show are the ones that are going to focus on her. I want to say 9 times out of 10 because a lot of my favorite episodes aren't the ones that focus on her so much, but they're the ones where she is a more prominent character in them. I am very biased towards Starfire. I'm just gonna go ahead and admit it. So basically in this episode, her sister Blackfire, her abusive ass older sister, comes to visit her. Or so she thinks. Basically, Blackfire is something, okay? She's literally a criminal. She on the fucking run. She's basically on the run and she's just trying not to get caught for the most part. But one thing about Blackfire coming into the show is that we do see a little bit more to Starfire and that she is kind of insecure about fitting in on Earth because Blackfire is more normal than Starfire, as they say. And spoiler alert for those who have seen the show, but people have this theory that because Blackfire has better English than Starfire is because she has kissed more people. Because we have revealed in the season 5 episode Go, which is basically, you know, where they put the damn pilot episode at the end, like the origin episode, because Miraculous Ladybug did that shit too. But basically it is revealed that in order for Starfire to learn how to speak English, she kissed Robin. And Robin, as we know now, is the only guy in the show she's ever kissed. But speaking of Robin, in this episode, we get to pick up on how their dynamic is within this series, and it's a romantic one. We do get the sense that Starfire likes Robin and Robin does like her. This relationship was like such a fucking slow burn, and I was just eating it up so bad as a kid. I still eat it up now as an adult, but now that I am grown, there are so many damn red flags in it. But this episode doesn't really have any red flags yet. It does. No, because Blackfire was over here kind of throwing herself at Robin, but we gonna bring up toxic Robin shit later. But that's basically Sisters. It's a strong Starfire episode. I love Sisters so much, okay? Because even though this episode has to do with them still fighting crime, because that is the purpose of the show, they are superheroes. This one was more of the more coming of age aspect of the series that this show actually handles really well, in my opinion. You don't even know. Oh, Divide and Conquer. I honestly don't care about this episode simply because it is... Oh my gosh, I forgot we had people coming to the house. Oh y'all, I'm gonna close the blind though. Why today? Why today? Today I actually need to get shit done. That there's somebody outside. Let me close the other ones. Okay, how far are we in? Damn, we're already at 22 minutes and I'm only on episode 3. Bitch, y'all getting the movie. But basically this is the episode where Robin and Cyborg fights, and it is just angst on top of angst on top of angst. Like basically they were in the middle of a mission, a move went wrong. Next thing you know, they start screaming and shouting at each other because neither of them fucking listen to each other. Next thing you know, Cyborg quits, and the next thing you know, Raven, Beast Boy, and Starfire are in this weird position because they don't want to pick a side with who was wrong and who was right. They were both wrong if you ask me, but they're their friends. They don't want to have to pick a side. They just want them to make up. So the three of them are just really kind of irritated for the whole episode. But then next thing you know, there's another mission that they have to go on where Plasma, the most nasty ass villain up in this series, they have to go fight him. Cyborg comes back, they do the power move correctly, they make up, and then that's that. They realize that they shouldn't fight so much, teamwork, yada yada yada, all that corny ass shit. Anyway, end of the episode. I don't know. it was just too angsty. Like, I can't stand the episodes where the Titans are fighting with each other the whole time, and that's why I don't really like Divide and Conquer all that much. But I do think it's a pretty good episode. I think it's a pretty strong episode. It also gives you a sense of who the Titans are as people as well. But Divide and Conquer, it's kind of a hard watch because I think because I have grown so attached to these characters because I've literally known them since I was like fucking 4 years old. It's just, it hurt. I don't like it.
You don't even know me.
Episode 4, Force of Nature. Y'all, before we go any further, this episode did blackface. What? The thing about it is that it was so subtle and so quick that you couldn't catch it, but it was there. It's one aspect of this episode that I like, and then the other aspect I just did not care for. And the aspect that I did care about was what was going on with Beast Boy and Starfire and their friendship. It was actually very nice to see their friendship because those are the moments that we don't really get too often in this series. It's Beast Boy and Starfire scenes, but here I loved it so much. Basically, Starfire is pissed the fuck off with Beast Boy because he was trying to play a prank on Cyborg for putting brown dye in his shampoo that turned him brown, them not realizing that that was subtle blackface. And he fills up a balloon with motor oil, and he is waiting for, the thing about it is that he's telling Raven this shit the entire time because she's just sitting there like, what the fuck are you doing? And he starts going off. So he fills a balloon with motor oil up, and he's like, I'm gonna throw it at Cyborg when he comes around the corner, not realizing that he lives with 4 other people and it could have been one of them. And then next thing you know, Starfire comes around the corner and it hits her, and she's just angry with him for that entire episode. Like, she was not having it with Beast Boy. She was giving him the silent treatment. She was done with him. And we learned in this episode that Starfire is a bit sensitive, and she thinks that he played this prank on her just to be mean when he really wasn't. And this episode really shows that the relationship dynamics between the Titans themselves is different with one another, because Cyborg and Beast Boy, they can be playfully rude with each other, play pranks on each other and whatnot, and still be good. They'll still be boys, they'll still be buddies, because that's their dynamic. They can act like that with each other because they know that's how they show their love for one another. But the way Beast Boy acts with Cyborg, he knows he can't act that way with Raven. And in this episode, he figured out that he can't act that way with Starfire either. Because Beast Boy is a little playful when it comes to Raven, but he knows his limits. He knows not to throw a balloon of motor oil at her. Like I said, I did not care about the damn villain of the week for this episode. It was them 2 damn brothers, Thunder and Lightning. They were annoying. I don't care. Bye. Next.
What it means to you get hurt all.
Episode 5. The sum of his parts. I don't like this one. The villain was literally a clown. Did not give. You were not Pennywise. The villain, there was 2 villains in this episode, by the way. There are always episodes where there's multiple villains, but both villains in this episode were just not hitting it, because the second villain was a villain that was there to repair Cyborg after he feels like he's not strong enough anymore and whatnot. Listen, I adore Cyborg. I think he's great. I really look up to him as a kid because, you know, black person, black kid on TV like me. But so much of his standalone episodes were just not all that engaging. This is one of the aspects of this show that I honestly can't stand, and that is Cyborg-centered episodes, because I don't like a lot of these episodes that center on Cyborg because so many of them focus on his body this, his body that. Like, he is much more than his body. But we're gonna talk more about Cyborg and my issues with his character and writing and storyline when we get to volume 3 of this series, because that right there I can explain it so much better because we have more material to go off of. But when I look back at it and I go to season 1 and I look at this show, I see that this was always a thing. This wasn't their first time doing it then. It just really bothers me how when it comes to the other characters in this show, how they're all different. They all look different. They all act different. Like, Starfire is literally an orange alien. Beast Boy is literally green. Raven looks like that. And I'm like, none of the episodes they had were about their identity. I'm gonna get into it later. Let's move on. Because when we had Beast Boy, Raven, Robin, and Starfire centered episodes, those episodes focus more on them and their emotions and how they feel about things in the world and whatnot. Except for that one episode where Starfire went through puberty. But then that episode's funny. We're going to talk about that later, with the exception of that one. And then there was an episode about Starfire's identity that we're going to talk about later. There is a very sweet scene at the end where Cyborg meets a disabled kid and he feels more seen knowing that there is somebody else out here like him. He had a prosthetic arm, and as we know, Cyborg has a prosthetic arm. I think he had a prosthetic hand. It's a prosthetic part right here, we know that. And he felt more seen knowing that there was a superhero out him that had a fake hand like he did, and I thought that was really sweet. That's kind of really the only thing I like much for this episode. This episode is a skip. Just watch like the last 2 minutes of it just for that scene. Yeah, other than that scene, I just don't care for this episode. Next.
Don't think we compatible. It's just on the house.
Nevermore, our first Raven episode. Yeah, I'm gonna be real, I did not like this episode as a kid. I did not. I love it now as an adult, but when I was a kid, I just didn't understand it. But now that I'm grown and have seen it numerous times and then rewatched it again today for making this, I think it's amazing. This episode is named after the short story by Edgar Allan Poe called The Raven, because there is a part in there where he says, quote, "The Raven, nevermore." Side note, Edgar Allan Poe's work is not the serve that y'all and he thinks it is, okay? Like, I throw him in that same category as Shakespeare and Ernest Hemingway. Like, at this point in the show, Raven is currently the most complex in my opinion, because we really don't know much about her up until this point. Because before, we just saw her as the quiet member of the Titans, has dry ass sense of humor and whatnot, that's kind of it. But here we get to learn more about her as a person, because in this episode, this is the first time that we really ever get to see Raven's emotions and why she hides them. In this episode, we learn that Raven has to force herself to stay calm or she will literally K-word somebody. Not great.
No! No! My truth! What are you doing? No! You win! I surrender! What's the matter? Afraid of the dark?
And this episode also goes to show you what the purpose of being a hero is. A hero is supposed to save the city, but you know, you can't K-word these people. You can't hurt them. Like, these are people. Like, that's one thing I really did like about the show, because when they saw, they were trying to stop him from taking down the city and hurting other people, but then once they saw that he was starting to get injured because of what Raven was doing, they were like, hey, we here for saving the city, but we don't stand for that. But the Titans weren't particularly mad at her for what she had done. They were just very concerned because she has never acted that way before. Why the one day? Last time I filmed in this spot, it was the fan making all that fucking noise. And now it's people doing work in the yard. Like, no! This episode honestly is just a Beast Boy and Raven episode with Cyborg third wheeling. At first it was like very Cyborg and Beast Boy center, and then once Raven came in, he was just third wheeling. And that does have a lot to do with, you know, the history between Beast Boy and Raven within the comic books, as they were lovers. Basically, they ended up getting stuck in Raven's mirror because Beast Boy said something rude to Raven. She stormed off and all of them were like, you need to go apologize to her. And then when he goes to apologize to her, she wasn't in there and they got stuck into the mirror. Let's continue. One thing I really love about this episode is how they got to know her. Like, it's actually one of my favorite episodes of Teen Titans Go, called The Colors of Raven. But how they got to know Raven in this episode is so cool, because they met her through her different type of personalities. They met her through her emotions that she always suppresses. And then we also learned that she has daddy issues. This scene has cute Beast Boy and Raven moments, but it also has cute Starfire and Robin moments, because Starfire and Robin are literally kind of like alone for like a good majority, not a good majority, but a good part of this episode, because the three of them are just off trying to stop her daddy from doing whatever he's doing. This one's a good one. It's a dark one, but it's a good one. Next. Switch! I love Switch. Okay, I love Switch. I love Switch. I love a lot of these episodes, but Switch is one in particular that I really love because it's the girl power episode. It is the Raven and Starfire episode. This is their episode that focuses on them. They steal the show. They told the boys to go sit to the back because they were gonna run this one. I love this episode, and it's literally, I said this so many times already, but this episode literally is like Teen Titans' take on Freaky Friday, because the villain, the Puppet King, takes control over them. And he takes control over the boys, and then it had causes Starfire and Raven to switch bodies. And the thing about it is that before we see in the episode is that Starfire wants to get to know Raven. She wants to be friends with her because she technically is friends with her, but she wants to get to know her. She wants to be there for her. She cares about her. She wants her bond with Raven to be better, but Raven just tends to push her away because she's just like, she's not my type of person. She too loud, she too nice, she this and that and the third. They're complete opposites of each other. And this purpose of this episode was to get Raven and Starfire to understand each other better. And nothing will work and nothing will go back to normal until they actually get to understand one another.
At my body, but you know nothing about me.
Perhaps you are right. And if you and I are to overcome this ordeal, we must know everything about each other.
In this episode, we get to see that Starfire just wants to get along with everyone. She wants to be accepted because she's an outsider. While all of them may not be familiar with that city that they are in, they know what Earth is like. They know what America is like for the most part. Starfire is an alien from another planet. She has no family here. These people are only things she has. They're technically her family because our family fucking sucks, but we're gonna get there later. And it also makes sense why she wants to get closer to Raven as well, because Raven is the only other girl there. And I know y'all hate me talking about Descendants all the time, but I need to make this comparison to Descendants right here because it reminded me a bit how in the book that Evie desperately wanted to be friends with Mal. Well, not in the beginning, but like as they went on, she did want to become Mal's friend. She did want to get closer to her. She did want to understand her. And the main reason why is because she kind of was the only girl there. And then when they moved to Oridon, the main reason why Evie got so close with Mal in the first place is because she was the only one that understood her situation. That being her being a villain girl from the Isle and moving here. She was the only other girl that she could relate to. That's why Evie got so attached to Mal in the first place. And that mirrors here where why Starfire wants to get close with Raven. Because there's certain things that she could talk about with Raven that she can't do with the guys. Because I know one thing in particular, she wants to go to the mall with Raven. And I'm not saying that men don't like to shop, but shopping is known as like a air quote girly thing. And that's something that she would like to do with another girl. And while Starfire and Raven are completely different, there are some aspects about them that they can relate to each other on. Like one, they both are supernatural human beings. Two, they both have unnatural ass skin colors. And three, they both come from abusive households. And that is something that you can pick up on in this show if you pay close attention to it. But it's actually confirmed to be true when you actually look at their backstory from the comic books and then look at the series. The thing about Teen Titans is that rewatching this series, I've noticed that they have to be very subtle about the really dark aspects of this series. Like I said, where they changed the Hive terrorist group into the Hive Academy, which is still technically a terrorist group. And here we get a sense of why these characters are together, and we get a sense of why Starfire and Raven can bond with each other. And at the end, they do have a very sweet moment with each other. After everything is settled, they get their bodies back. And part of the reason why is because they actually sat down and had a talk with each other to understand one another. Like one thing in particular in this episode that I thought was really interesting is that Starfire and Raven didn't know how their powers worked. And she was telling her, you need to act this way in order for this to work, but they weren't really listening to each other. They weren't really getting it simply because they didn't understand one another, because they didn't really know each other. So after they had that talk, that's when everything got better. And in the end of the episode, I'm not gonna say what happened because, you know, I still kind of want to leave some surprise in here, but it's a very, very sweet moment between the two of them. And I love this episode so much. Like, I honestly love it so much now as an adult more than I did as a kid. I just love friendship. I cherish friendship so much. Friendship is just something that is just super duper special to me, and I think people need to take more seriously.
Fall in love with me.
Okay, Deep Six. We're not gonna spend much time on this episode. I hated this episode as a kid. I still hated it as an adult. I just don't like this one. Like, it's beautifully animated, I'll give it that. I just don't like it. Like, Beast Boy was being a little bitch in this episode. I just can't. It's just, this episode was just a pain to get through, okay? We get it. They had a crush on Aqualad. They saved the day, whatever. Moving on. I just don't like this episode. You can skip this one, to be honest. If you're a fan of Beast Boy, you might want to sit around and watch this one, but even as a Beast Boy stan, I couldn't do it. This one is a skip.
Please don't fall in love with me.
Episode 9, Mask. I love me some Mask. I love me some Mask. This episode right here. Teen Titans fanfiction writers be having a field day with this episode because of one particular character that it introduced, and that character is Red X. Also, this episode also proved that Starfire and Robin should not date. Y'all are gonna be dragging me for my opinions on Starfire and Robin, and before any of y'all try to come for me, I ship Rob Star. Okay? Don't play with me. Arc overall in this series is my favorite arc in this series, and this is the beginning of it, and I was screaming when I got to this part because I was just like, yes, I love it. So when I was like younger, like before I hit 10, this episode always shook me, but then when I became a teenager, I picked on, it was so obvious who the fuck Red X was. Spoiler alert, it was Robin. Like, it was given season 1 of Miraculous Ladybug. If y'all remember back in the day, with Gabriel, they didn't announce that Gabriel was Hawkmoth, but it was so obvious who the fuck it was. The face shape was the same. The voice actor was literally the same. Like, it was no surprise when we found out who Hawkmoth actually was. Like, bitch. It wasn't the problem that they were trying to hide Hawkmoth's true identity. The problem is that it was too obvious. Like, I know this is for kids, but damn, don't stop. One thing I can't stand about Miraculous Ladybug versus Teen Titans is that Teen Titans didn't talk stupid to its audience. But here, in Miraculous Ladybug, they do that too often. Like, kids are not stupid, y'all. Like, don't do that. Like, even though it was way more obvious here with it being Red X, being Robin, it wasn't that damn obvious. Like, it was obvious now that I'm an adult, but I can see why, if you're not paying close enough attention, you wouldn't be able to pick up that was him. But anyway, back to this episode. This episode honestly has one of my all-time favorite fight scenes in the show. Like, it is just beautifully animated, beautifully choreographed. I love the entire silhouette of them running back and forth. I just love this shot so much. It's my favorite fight scene. And then also, aside from what's going on with Red X, we have more of the Robin and Starfire dynamic. But Robin got trust issues. I understand why, but damn, boy. And it really hurts Starfire knowing that he doesn't trust her because she trusts him. And also the other teammates were upset too because they were like, we're friends, we trusted you. Why the fuck did you do this? It's funny because they all claim to be teammates, they all claim to be friends, they all live under the same roof, but Robin still betrayed them like this, and they had every right to be angry with his bitch ass. This episode, in my opinion, is one of the stronger ones because it actually showed how Robin and Slade actually mirror each other. Like, Robin literally put his friends in danger to get what he wanted. Dangerous. They got every right to be mad at his ass. Like, and I love the end because even though Starfire didn't yell at him like Raven, Beast Boy, and Cyborg did, she still told him about himself. Love it. I love this episode, okay? Episode 10, Mad Mod. I don't have much to say about this one. I do love this episode. I really like it. It's really fun, really enjoyable. It's a Scooby-Doo episode in my opinion. This episode was like very nerve-wracking, but it was also a lot of fun. And so many people honestly remember this song. Not this song, but people remember this episode for one particular scene in it, and that is the chase scene where they are playing K2G by Puffy Ami Yumi. which was, I thought it was pretty cute. But this episode was just fun. It's just nothing serious. It feels like an episode of Scooby-Doo. It was a break from all the seriousness in the show for a short bit. This is like the last little bit of zaniness we get before it goes into full-on serious mode, and it is dark. I don't really have much to say about Mad Mod. It's a nice, fun, silly episode. The villain was great, beautifully animated, great song choice, great song sequence, just fun. And all the characters were like hilarious in this one. It was actually really freaking funny.
I just need to go ahead and leave.
Episode 11, The Apprentice, and episode 12, The Apprentice Part 2. I'm just gonna talk about both of these at the same time because it's literally the same fucking episode and I can do that. You guys, like I said, I am the captain, you are not my first mate. I can do what the fuck I want on my pirate ship. And simply, it's literally one episode and okay, it's a two-parter. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. This arc, in my opinion, is my favorite arc out of all the ones in this series. And I hate the fact that I say that my favorite arc was one that happened so early on in the show, but it truly was. I'm sorry. The other ones, the other ones later on were just, I have my opinions on them, and a lot of that has to do with my sanity. Robin's arc was my favorite. By the way, Starfire is the only Titan that didn't get her own arc, and we're gonna get into that later on in the other volumes. Mainly in the last volume of this video, we're gonna do it. Okay, Rob Star was my ship growing up. Like, I was hardcore Rob Star trash, but this entire saga right here, it just proves that Robin is a walking red flag. Corey, get up, get out, girl. You are too good for him. I'm sorry, but Starfire is just too good for Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson is shit. Like, oh Jesus, this is Teen Titans universe. No, he's still trash in his universe to her. So basically, we are introduced in this episode arc with Robin is slowly losing himself because he so desperately wants to beat Slade. He so desperately wants to find out who this man is. He so desperately wants to understand why he is doing what the fuck he's doing. And he so desperately just wants him to go down. And it's weird because the purpose of the Teen Titans is to protect Jump City, to protect the citizens, to do the greater good. And here you get to see that the main reason Robin wanted to take down Slade was for his own advantage, for his own benefit. You can tell that he was putting his selfishness first before everything else. And that is part of the reason why the Titans were getting a bit frustrated with him, because we were like, hey, this case is actually really stressing you out and we think you need to step out on that. But his ass didn't want to listen, and him not wanting to listen is what led to all the fuckery that happens later. Like, there's a reason why Robin was a sidekick. This arc showed it. Robin basically showed that he can be just as dangerous as the people he so desperately wants to take down. And because he couldn't put his pride aside, he ends up hurting his teammates, making them more irritated with him, and he ends up getting blackmailed into being Slade's apprentice. But the thing about it is that when he does become Slade's apprentice, we do see the more human side of Robin come out and not the hero side of him, because he's like, hey, these are my friends. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to fight them. Because moving back to Mask, the Red X episode where he was pretending to be Red X so he could get closer to finding out who Slade is, Beast Boy was about to get K-worded, like he was about to D-word, and Robin saved him. So that's like the more human aspects of him coming out. But the thing about it is that even though Robin didn't want to hurt his teammates here, he already did hurt them. He hurt them by not lying. He hurt them by not listening to them. He hurt them by lying to them, and he also did physically hurt them. And yeah. Robin going out bad. And basically Slade eventually wanted Robin to take out, y'all, I'm sorry, but I forgot the Teen Titans communicator is my ringtone on my phone. I'm that hard of a stan. I'm not lying. The ending of this one is just very bittersweet in my opinion, because this episode is just stressful. Like, this two-parter is just stressful, because the saddest thing about this is because Robin has showed his ass so bad with, you know, the Red X situation and him not listening to him because he was putting his pride before what was actually supposed to be for the greater good in the first place. They were like, we gotta fight him. They're like, we may not want to do it. He was our friend, but he betrayed us and we have to take him down. That is honestly the most heart-wrenching part of this episode. You can tell they didn't want to do it, but they thought Robin was gonna hurt them again, and they were afraid that he was going to betray them once more, because you know he literally was fucking fighting them. He was Slade's apprentice. You have to think about it from their perspective and not the audience perspective, because as we know, Robin didn't want to hurt them, but Cyborg, Beast Boy, Raven, and Starfire, they didn't know that. So they were like, damn, he really turned his back on us and now we have to beat his ass. Like, that is so freaking sad. That's why I said this ending was bittersweet, because they do, you know, get rid of the little nasty red things that were in their bodies. Starfire and Robin apologized to each other. Starfire apologizes for not trusting him and basically comparing him to Slade. And I am so glad that Robin actually took some accountability in this scene, because he's like, no, you were right. I am a lot like him. And then the last episode of season 1 is Car Trouble. We're gonna get there. Basically, Cyborg's car gets fucking fucked up. Like, this shit get busted, okay? And it's Gizmo's fault. The fact that it was Gizmo who fucked up his car just makes it so funny. Because the way Gizmo fucked up his car was like so smart. Like, that kid is a genius. He's just using his smarts for bad. That's not good. But like I said, this is a Cyborg episode. I'm gonna be real, I did not care too much for this episode until like the last 7 minutes when Raven comes in and becomes important. Like, it was okay. Like, it wasn't a bad episode, but it was a good episode, but it's just not one that it don't really got much rewatch value for me. It just got so much better when Raven came into the story to comfort. Raven and Cyborg's friendship is honestly one of my favorite aspects of this series. I live for Raven and Cyborg's things, okay? Like, I love them. I adore them. It's honestly one of the most underrated arcs and dynamics in the show. I love Starfire and Beast Boy's dynamic, but I also really love Cyborg and Raven's dynamic, because you get to see how differently they act when they are with different people. The main reason why I love when Raven came into this episode so much, because after the entire episode with Nevermore and that happened with her and Beast Boy and Cyborg getting trapped into her evil ass mirror, and then the Puppet King episode where she actually became close to Starfire, you get to see that she is trying to do better about opening up to these people and being a good friend for them and not pushing them away. Because before she would just shut them out, but now she's becoming more open to being a part of their lives as friends and not really co-workers, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna be real, this episode did more for Raven than it did for Cyborg. I have so many issues with Cyborg's character. I don't want people thinking I'm being rude or nothing, but like, I just wasn't all that into his car trouble. The only part, like, it was actually funny when it came to like those two dudes that he was joyriding with, and then Gizmo stealing his shit and wrecking it. But it's just overall, I just love this Raven and Cyborg episode. Like, I honestly wish Raven was kind of with him this whole episode. Now, it's one thing in particular about this episode that feels so weird. Why did this episode come after The Apprentice? Like, it actually made no sense why this came after The Apprentice, and that is because it was supposed to be after The Apprentice, but they aired it in the wrong order, and then this ended up being the season 1 finale, and it is not strong. Like, it's a decent episode, but unlike season finale worthy, no. It's like that trash ass season finale series finale of Victorious, like, awful. That episode in general was just awful, okay? But it just kind of ruined the entire flow of the show, because you're sitting here watching everything build up, build up, build up, and build up, and then it kind of let down at the end, if that makes sense. It just should have been right after Mad Mod, in my opinion, if we wanted to go. Like I said before the camera called off, it was still them trying to like get to know each other.
So you better be warned. Don't be fooled by the eye of the storm. 'Cause when you least expect, I'm a quick ride up. You best protect your neck. So whoever you are, no matter near or far, just check your radar. Look out for the end.
Now, overall, say something about my armpit hair, you're getting blocked. Overall, season 1 just kind of gives you an insight on how the rest of the show will go, and it's pretty strong in my opinion. We literally are introduced to the show's best reoccurring villain, Slade, along with the Hive, because the Hive are pretty enjoyable. You can't really take them as seriously as Slade, but you're not really supposed to, because the Hive are not scary. I'm sorry. They are not scary. Slade is terrifying though. His real name is actually Deathstroke. Like, his name is actually Slade Wilson for those who didn't know. But because this show didn't want to, they still had to appeal to the children audience. They didn't want to go all the way there like they wanted to. They decided to just go with Slade. And honestly, that's still a terrifying ass name. You setting your son up for failure. You named your child Slade. If you name your child Slade in this day and age, everybody gonna think back to Teen Titans and be like, why did you name your child that? The characters in this show are just an annoying ass group of kids. I'm talking about the main characters, and I enjoy that. I love that because you want to know why? Kids are annoying. Like, one thing that gets on my nerves is that people always tend to complain about children characters. They always say that this kid character is too dull. Okay. Then when they make them actually act like a kid, they're like, oh, this kid character is annoying. Children are fucking annoying. Like, what part of that don't y'all get? Y'all were all annoying as a child, whether you want to admit it or not. And if you don't think you were annoying as a child, you're annoying now. Like, I enjoyed how annoying they were from time to time, because you want to know why? That's how teenagers act. Like, they fight over the stupidest shit, they make up, and then they bond. That's teenhood for you. And one thing in particular that I find interesting is that you do notice that these episodes do matter. And that is something that I did not catch on to when I was a kid. Like, yes, there is an ongoing storyline where they have different arcs here and there that come in and out, but the character development is there. It sticks and goes by. How the characters are in Divide and Conquer, because I count that as the first episode, not Final Exam, because no. But how they are in Final Exam and Divide and Conquer, that's not how they are by Car Trouble in the Apprentice arc. They're different. And I can see why this show has such a big female audience. Because Starfire and Raven, they're pretty solid female characters, like strong female leads. They're pretty great, and I'm pretty sure that does have to do with this show actually having women working behind the scenes of it. I can see why this show appealed to everyone, because I remember people would try to say Teen Titans was a show for boys, but then they were like, it's a show for boys. Why is a good chunk of its audience, I'm not even gonna say a good chunk, a whole half of this audience is women and girls? Like, I find that so interesting, because oftentimes when it comes to like superhero shows and movies, they usually focus so much of the good writing and storytelling on the men, and then the writing for the women is extremely mid. This is why we don't be wanting men to write women no more, because they have failed terribly so many times. I'm looking at you, My Hero Academia. But here you can tell they put equal amount of effort into the girls as they did the boys as well. And also, speaking of writing, I'm just gonna say it because this is just an ongoing issue I've had with this series since I was a kid, before I hit the double digits. But Raven, Robin, and Starfire got the best writing. This show has its strengths and weaknesses when it comes to certain characters in particular. They shine the most when it came to Robin, Raven, and Starfire, but Beast Boy and Cyborg is where it lagged. Like, I look back and I noticed that my least favorite episodes are the ones that focus on Cyborg or Beast Boy alone, not the ones where it's focused with them and one other person, because that's another topic for another discussion. Like, my least favorite episodes are the ones where they are centered. They work better as side characters, in my opinion. Like, some characters, y'all know how when they have a spin-off or a show for a character and that shit just don't slap? That's how it felt with them. They worked better as side characters. I enjoyed Beast Boy and Cyborg more in the episodes that didn't strictly focus on them. Like, even in that episode where Starfire was mad at Beast Boy, I didn't really think that episode focused too much on Beast Boy. I feel like it focused on Starfire and Beast Boy because it was like a dynamic between the two with them being angry at each other. Well, not really being angry at each other. She was mad at him. He was trying to beg for her forgiveness. Beast Boy character honestly shines the most when he's with Raven. And that comes to, like, you know, his more serious side. His more sensitive side, if that makes sense. And Cyborg just plays really well with all of the other characters, but his standalones really just kind of fall flat. That's why I said in Car Trouble I really didn't like to enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy the episode all that much until Raven came in. And honestly, I just have so many words to say about Cyborg's character. Diversity is much more than just having a black character that is well drawn and voiced by a black voice actor. I'ma just say that. I'ma just leave my issues with Cyborg's character alone for now. And volume 3, that is where I will go ham. That is when I will go in, because that's where so many of the problems with his character comes from the most. Like, oh Jesus, no. But I'm just gonna leave that at that. Y'all gotta watch volume 3 when it comes out. Okay, bye. But that is it for every Teen Titans episode review volume 1. What did you guys think about it? What did you think of my takes? What are your favorite episodes? What are your favorite characters? Let me know down below. I'm very interested. I love Teen Titans. I can talk about this show all day long, all day, every day. I don't really talk about it too much on my channel because I never really wanted to know how I wanted to go about making Teen Titans content. Like, I made that video about Terra and I was happy about the way it came out, but in volume 2 we dragging Terra to hell and back again because I can't, I'm tired of her. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please make sure you give it a thumbs up because this shit is over an hour long, and please help me. I'm not about to make a video that's this long and it flop. I rebuke thee. But you guys want to know you can support me? I have Patreon. Most expensive tier is $5. The cheapest is $1. I have donation links, buy me a coffee and a Ko-fi. Another way you can support is that I have merch, harriyannahook.com. I cannot wait for you guys to see this new launch that I have coming soon. Check that out. Be on the lookout for that. Sign up for the mailing list so you can get updates on discounts and sales and all the other stuff that I got going on. Also, if you guys want to know what way you can support me for free, support The Progenies. The Progenies is my web series. It's a Descendants fan series. I will have the link to that down below, our Instagram, our website, all of our episodes. The show will be back sometime. I don't know when, but it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back one time, sometime. Just give me a break. It's hard to make a show, y'all, okay? You guys, another way to support me is just to follow me on everything at Harriyanna, HARRIYANNA. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a good night.
'Cause I work hard to get to this point in my life. I'm blowing up, so don't hate. Just congratulate.
The Powerpuff Girls will just blow your mind. Buttercup like villains 3 at a time. Bubbles will smile while kicking your butt, and Blossom will lead them out of their rut. Cherish and Powerpuff, 2 of a kind. Both wanna save the world before bedtimes. From Townsville, Memphis, New York to LA, the Powerpuff Girls are just here to stay. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the chemical X. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the chemical X. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they shocking. You know no one can stop them all because of the chemical X. They coming through and fighting, and everyone they shocking.